wake up Belize. Another day is here. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. WB, get up, make every day count up. Wasted people, do your part, play around, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's not so it no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB, wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Another day is here. Wake up Belize, we gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up Belize, voice of opinion and place your calling. WB, be yourself, see yourself, this is just show my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, this the vibe we're dealing. Let's find a solution, yeah. No respect on selfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes, WB. And all the things that will feel happen and knock out blue skies. I love it when people get victimized. Let's work together for better, we got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up Belize. Another day is here. Wake up Belize, we gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up Belize, voice of opinion and place your calling. WB. Wake up Belize. Another day is here. Wake up Belize, we gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up Belize, voice of opinion and place your calling. WB, be yourself, see yourself, this is just show my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, this the vibe we're dealing. Let's find a solution, yeah. No respect on selfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes, WB. And all the things that will feel happen and knock out blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better, we got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up Belize. Another day is here. Wake up Belize, we gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up Belize, voice of opinion and place your calling. WB, get up, make every day count up. Wasted people, do your part, play around, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's not so it no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB, wake up Belize. Another day is here. Wake up Belize, we gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up Belize, voice of opinion and place your calling. WB, be yourself, see yourself, this is just show my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, this the vibe we're dealing. Let's find a solution, yeah. No respect on selfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes, WB. And all the things that will feel happen and knock out blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better, we got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up Belize. Another day is here. Wake up Belize, we gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize. Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. It's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah. No respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes to build. And all the things that must be happen and not got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play around, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's the show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. Double your bed. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. Double your bed. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. It's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah. No respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that must be happen and not got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. WB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. It's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah. No respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes to WB. And all the things that must be happen and not got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. WB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play around, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's the show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. It's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah. No respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We changes. We are the changes, WUB. And all the things that will feel happen and I got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Us work together for better, we got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WUB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WUB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Believe our hopes so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. Is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WUB.
Welcome. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize, Morning Vibes. It's a Thursday morning. It's the 11th day of December 2025. I'm Nuri Muhammad, and we welcome you to the program this morning. We have our preliminaries that we go through. As you know, we give you an update on the weather, and then we give you what is prepared for you from the newsroom, and that comes after the weather. And a little after that, we will open the phone lines for our conversation, and we do have a guest coming in a little later in the program. So we'll go now to Tariq Matthews to give us our weather update.
Morning, Belize. Our latest radar imagery showed a few showers, mainly over some coastal and offshore areas. Relatively moist and somewhat unstable conditions prevail. The 24-hour forecast: sunny with some cloudy spells today and cloudy at times tonight. A few showers or light rain with a low chance of an isolated thunderstorm will likely occur, mainly over offshore and some coastal areas this morning. Activity will gradually move mostly over inland areas by this afternoon, then redevelop mainly along coastal and offshore areas tonight. The maximum temperatures for today will reach 84 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 86 inland, and 77 up in the hills. The low temperatures for tonight will be around 74 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 70 inland, and 64 up in the hills. The winds will be from the north-northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and the sea conditions will be slight to light chop. A low tide will occur this morning at 9:42, followed by a high tide this evening at 3:49, another low tide tonight at 9:55, and another high tide early tomorrow morning at 3:47. The sun rose this morning at 6:12 and will set this evening at 5:19. The moon will set this morning at 11:51 and will rise just after midnight at 6 minutes after 12. In the sargassum forecast, surface and satellite observation suggests that no significant sargassum mats are over the area. Therefore, impacts, if any, from sargassum over the next few days will be minimal. The outlook for Friday and Friday night: skies will be cloudy at times. A few showers and isolated thunderstorms will likely occur, mainly along coastal and over northern areas Friday morning, then around the country, but more so over inland areas Friday afternoon. Friday night, shower activity will be isolated with a medium chance for a few more, mainly along the coast. For a review of our forecast and other products, please visit our website at nms.gov.bz. Our next forecast comes out at 12 p.m. this afternoon. With that, we end this morning's forecast from the Belize National Meteorological Service.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news. The first private radio in Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents.
His first interview since his departure from the cabinet, former Minister of Agriculture Jose Mai frontally addressed allegations of wrongdoing. He addressed the Prime Minister's explanation that he sought leave of absence because he requires back surgery and proceeded to correct the record.
I'm feeling okay, could be better. Given all the scandal, I have to keep optimistic. I have work to do in my constituency and I have to keep focused, so I can't be worrying too much about the noise on the market. I have a constituency to care for and I will do that. So I could be better, but it's okay, I'm doing fine.
Were you forced to resign?
No, sir. No. I wrote to the Prime Minister asking him to kindly relieve me of my ministerial duties in order for me to seek medical attention for my spine. Who wants to believe if I am sick or not, it's their business. I'm not saying this to convince any of them. I need to take care of my health first and my constituency, my family. So I had to make the decision. The Prime Minister gave an explanation earlier, which was probably not too accurate. Maybe I should correct his statement. In May of this year, I had surgery on my shoulder. I had an incident on my farm, dislocated my shoulder, and I ripped one of the ligaments. So I had surgery for that on the 3rd of May, my birthday actually, in Merida. My spine is a chronic matter. It has been there for years, I believe, and the older I get, the more severe it becomes. So it is a chronic situation that needs surgery. Now, I have to decide when I want to do it, and I've selected this time to do it.
Mai explained that he has to decide where is best to get the procedure done.
I am still looking at advice, which is the best place to do it. L5S1 is where I have the biggest problem, where there is no disc anymore. It's, the medical term is desiccation. It's desiccated. I think it's dried up. I think that's what it means. And I have L4 and L3 that are herniated. So I have 3 areas. The one that gives the most trouble though is the L5S1. Now the doctors are telling me this. Dr. Bernabe Carrillo, who has done another study for me at the clinic in Belize City, is referring me to his colleague in Guatemala. I understand his colleague also practices in Houston, and others are saying, well, the best place for the type of surgery is Germany. I do not know yet. I have to make that determination where it's going to be done. And of course, the cost and all the time will be out of office. The 3 doctors I've spoken to believe that 5 to 6 months is recovery. If there's no complication, and hope there is no complication, and maybe 2 to 3 months of therapy. So I have to do it at some point. Every day is getting worse and worse. And the older you get, the more vulnerable you become. Your pressure goes up, you become pre-diabetic. And so I think the time is now and I have to do it.
Mai categorically rejected any links to Mexican cartels and said if there were any evidence, it would have emerged already.
Given all the noise on the market and all the scandals, I must say to you there are all scandals. There's no evidence to substantiate what they've accused me of. I didn't grow up in that type of environment. I grew up in a humble family. And so I don't even like security around me. I don't feel I need security around me for all the scandals that are out there. And so I have to not worry about all the noise on the market and all the Facebook claims. Some have been very, very rude. Some have been very mean. But that's expected. That's human behavior. I used to oppose the UDP a lot when I was in opposition, so I expect them to do the same. But some people have been extremely, extremely offensive, extremely provocative, extremely disrespectful. I think people don't understand what someone is going through when they are ill. I seen former Prime Minister Dean Barrow sit in his chair and and just twist around with pain, and I never expected. I didn't. You can't believe the level of pain that he has. Fortunately, I can still move around a little and just manage what I'm doing. All they have is allegations. If there was any evidence, it would have been set forth already. I have done nothing wrong, and I have done nothing illicit. And there is no evidence to prove that of me.
But have you been threatened by the cartels?
Absolutely not, sir. No, sir. None at all. I don't even know who cartel members are. I don't want to know them, and I don't want them to know me. I just read what I see from the cartels in Mexico. It's just horrible. And I think that some media people just keep repeating these people's names. And I think they don't understand the level of danger that they get themselves into when you do that. Because you didn't want to mention those people's names. Those people, from what I see, I mean, look at the Belizeans traveling through Mexico. I mean, they extort them, they beat them, they torture them, and you are going to mention these people's name? No, sir. I have never, that I know of, had any contact with these people, and I don't want to have contact with them, don't intend to have contact with them, and I don't want them to know me or have contact with me, none at all. I keep away from those things. Those are very delicate matters, life-threatening. You don't want to get involved with these people. So I have never, sir, never contacted those people or be in contact with them that I know of. Now, we must understand that nobody walks around with a sign on the shirt that says, I'm a cartel. But that I know of consciously, sir, no, never.
In that interview, Jose Mai once more rejected any involvement in the relation to the Joseph Budna kidnapping. He also revealed that his hope is that he will be back in the cabinet within a year. In the meantime, he says that he's campaigning and working in his division.
No, sir. No, sir. As far as Mr. Budna was a reporter, one time he interviewed me on a matter, but I've never had anything to do with that matter, sir.
And now what are you doing in your constituency now that you have stepped back from ministerial duties?
Yeah, hopefully I will, as discussed with the Prime Minister and Cabinet Secretary and others, is that if everything goes well, I should be able to be back, maybe not within a year, if everything goes well. And that's God's will, no? If not, then if something goes wrong, which I hope it won't, then I have to ease up. But I don't, right now I just need to manage what I'm doing, lose some weight, because much weight on the spine puts more pressure on the spine, according to the doctor. So I need to lose at least 15 pounds, 20 pounds more, which is difficult. But the question you asked was regarding, what the question? My question was, I am campaigning, I'm keeping focused. There are 7,000 constituents in my constituency. We are going to start working this year, at least move around a little, visit people, have more time on my hands to visit some people and put our projects in place. We have a lot of work to do now in Rock South. And to be honest, I had with my conditions, I decided maybe not to run again, but I'm having second thoughts now. I've been out there a few days. My constituents know me. I've been in politics for 20 years. They know where I come from. They know I come from humble beginnings. They know where I stand. They know where I live. And so yesterday we were out there and you feel, you feel well, you feel good. I mean, having read all the criticisms they say about you, and then meeting them on the ground face to face is a totally different thing. But my constituents.
While he can no longer work as the Minister of Agriculture, Maya is putting in the same energy displayed in carrying out his work in this portfolio, now in his division, even as he waits to schedule that spine surgery.
90% of those comments on Facebook are not my voters. So I have to focus on those who vote for me and those who are my constituents that I can help. So we have a lot of projects right now. We are inaugurating one of the houses in Trinidad for one of the young ladies, a single mom. We are paving right at this time the road from St. Carlos to Indian Church. We are about to energize, that's the term they use, St. Carlos and Indian Church. The houses are going to have lights, electricity, and the posts them. Yesterday I was in contact with the people from BL, and so we have many things. We have the subdivision in San Felipe coming up. We have subdivision in Agaspar Ridge coming up. We have all the villages Guinea Grass, where we see that there's a lack of house lots for young people. And so I have a lot of work to do. Now, I'm not a fan of reading Facebook. I will try to look on the positive things in Facebook. But if you will read every comment that you are crazy. And I don't have the time for that. I prefer to use my time positively, to do something positive, to learn something, than to be looking at gossips, because a lot of things are just gossip and scandals and baseless allegations. And so if the Belizean people, that entertains them, then fine with me. You choose what you want to do, just spare time. I choose to use my spare time wisely.
33-year-old Zach Hart, initially referred to in the media as Zach Rich, has requested no further court action following his tense encounter on the Philip Golson Highway with the driver of Minister Henry Usher on the night of December 5th, Friday, December 5th. Hart, who lives in Bella Vista, Belize City, reported that sometime around 7:50 p.m., he was driving down from Ladyville when a silver Ford 150 with government's license plate exited Gwen Lizaraga Street and cut into his lane near the Biltmore Hotel. Hart told police that he had to hit his brakes and blow his horn in order to avoid a collision. Hart continued on the highway to the highway store on the entrance of Bella Vista, where he met four friends. There he saw the same F-150 parked on the roadside. He told police that the driver, whom he recognized as Harrison Rebo Blades, a man he has known for 7 years, approached him. Hart alleges that Blades confronted him, uttering a profanity, and then pulled a black firearm, pointing it towards his lower torso. Police obtained video footage from the area, but the investigating officer reported that no useful information was retrieved. Statements from witnesses were still pending. However, on the afternoon of Monday, December the 8th, 2025, Hart returned to the police station and provided a follow-up statement requesting no further court action. The case has therefore been closed without any charges being filed. Reports are that there was an out-of-court settlement. Police officer Juan Carlos Morales and BDF soldier Ramon Alberto Alcocer are set to be sentenced on Friday, December the 12th, after being convicted on November the 12th for perverting the course of justice. They were found guilty of giving false statements regarding the fatal shooting of off-duty BDF soldier Jesse Escobar at the grocery store in Santa Familia Village, Cayo District in September of 2021. The A mitigation hearing was held for Alcocer last week, while the mitigation hearing for the police officer was held Tuesday before Senior Magistrate Baha Schumann. Morales likewise begged for the mercy, while at the same time making serious claims that the DPP had knowledge of a sergeant and a JP having also lied in a matter related to his. He questioned why that officer was not charged. Morales also expressed remorse and asked the family for forgiveness. He additionally shared how he has been impacted by the situation, earning only $300 twice monthly as an interdicted cop. He expressed that he always wanted to be someone in life and therefore endeavored to serve his country every day, but instead ended up with this. He lamented that he is unable to provide for his family as he would like. The men's attorney impressed upon the court that their clients have suffered enough and called for a non-custodial sentence. In Morales' case, his attorney explained that he suffers from depression, and he argued that if he remains in prison, he may find a way to take his life. For her part, the DPP, Charlene Vidal, reminded that the offense is a very serious one and the case should serve as a deterrent to other officers. In requesting a custodial sentence, the DPP said that it would restore confidence in the judiciary and would be in the public interest, as the intention of the defendants was that the shooter, Rahim Valencia, escaped justice. Valencia is awaiting a verdict for murder. That's our package for this morning, the 11th day of December 2025. There's an update at 12 o'clock and one at 3 o'clock and a full news broadcast at 5:15 on Creme Radio. Here on XTV, we bring you the entire news package at 6 o'clock this evening. It's now 3 minutes after 7 o'clock. We'll take a short break, come back, open the phone lines, and begin our conversation for this morning.
Informative, accurate, current information. Crem's newscast. Local, regional, and international news. Weather and sports.
The journey towards owning a home was a family decision, as we needed stability and security, and it was a financial investment that we would have for our family's legacy. Getting a home loan from Atlantic Bank was very easy. The officers there were able to walk you through the process, and you were able to ask questions. Moving into our home for the first time was a blessed and happy experience. I remember turning the key for the first time, and the family was so excited to see our new home where we'll be making new memories in.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Amandala is now online. You can now access Amandala's midweek and weekend issues online by logging on to our website at amandala.com.bz/news and joining our membership portal today. There's 5 easy steps to get unlimited access to weekly e-paper, archive publications, and a host of other exclusive contents. Number 1, go to Amandala's website. Number 2, navigate to subscribed areas. Number 3, choose a membership level. Number 4, check out using our secured portal. Number 5, log into the members only section. Telephone numbers 501-280-4703 or 202-4477. Fax us at 501-222-4702, or you could email at amandalapress@yahoo.com or amandalapress@gmail.com. Amandala, all power to the people.
This is WUB, Wake Up Belize, Morning Vibes on a Thursday, the 11th day of December. The last few days of the month of December, and I select few days because many have been waiting for this period. I guess people are so much going from holiday to holiday, bashment to bashment, almost looking for another relief. So we are in the season of Christmas, and as we spoke about it last week, what happened to Christ in Christmas? What happened to that sacredness of the period at the end of the year when family get together, enjoy themselves, and kind of get a renewal, kind of get a good spirit? But it is a happy period. It's a bashment period for many people. For some people, it's just a period of relaxation with the family. But nonetheless, we're in that season now. Our number here is 623-0077. 623-0077 if you want to call and get in on our conversation. We do have a guest coming in at 7:30, or I should say right after 2 cents cam. Congratulations, of course, is due to the community of Gales Point in being recognized by UNESCO. This is the second time UNESCO has recognized our unique heritage that represents a very important aspect of our history. Gales Point, over 200 years ago, we carried on a kind of specialness in Christmas. It was a time when we were still enslaved. It was a period where the domination of the area called British Honduras, or the colony of Belize, was completely under the control of the British. And Gales Point was in fact one of those maroon villages, meaning an area where we escaped the enslavement and set up our own community. And in fact, that community was established along the principles of what we brought with us, what we retrieved with us from our African civilization. And so much of what we had really brought with us in our DNA, like the drums, like the chants, like the religious rituals, these things we could not practice fully inside of the settlement. But in the area where we escaped, Gales Point being one of them, and there were other maroon areas, we were able to bring back and celebrate that we brought with us, that was not disturbed, completely disappeared or erased by our colonial experience. We know that some years ago, this special recognition from UNICEF was also, UNESCO was also, it was also shown to the Garifuna language, music, the very cultural retrieval and holding on to what they brought with them through their experience from enslavement, from their battles in St. Vincent against the British, their being expelled, banished into an area of the Caribbean and Central America, and eventually coming across from Rotan into Belize. This was a very special and very important journey that was maintained by the Garifuna. And so with all that process or all that journey, they did not lose language, they did not lose music, they did not lose their connection with their historical and, I would say, sacred history. I say that because, and the number here is 623-0077. The colonial process was a process of not only bringing us over, enslaving us, but it was also a mental enslavement. For if we held on to the traditions that we had before our being colonized, there was bravery and warriorship in that period before we became enslaved. This was particularly so with the Garifuna, who consider themselves never being enslaved as compared to their Creole brothers. They have not experienced being in chains and being beaten and being taken into these kind of conditions that we suffered here. When they were faced with that in St. Vincent, they fought back, and they fought back in bravery, and they fought back with such resistance that they were banished. They were pushed off of St. Vincent with the hope that they would just die. When they moved from St. Vincent into Rotan, many of them died in that journey. Many of them died as a result of disease. So when the Garifuna came into the colony of Belize, they did not come in as slaves. They did not come in as enslaved people, but rather came in as individuals or people who had retained and held on to that which they brought with them from their experience in St. Vincent, and in fact, even before that, since they originally were brought from Africa. So this recognition of the Garifuna language and music, which I think took place, I'm sorry I missed the date, but I think it was over 10 years ago. It is interesting that the black population of the Creoles are now being recognized for a similar retrieval, that is, holding on to the music which was expressed during the Christmas Bram, and also the Sambai, which is a special ritual dance, very sacred ritual dance that was done and is still being done in this area of what we call Malanti. But I am not an expert or a person who knows the deep history, and certainly we are going to try and get others in here, because we need to stop only discussing these things as events, because the Garifuna and the uniqueness of that culture was there long before. And it seems like it's only when we get these world bodies, these UN and these other external, most of them originating from Europeans, recognize us for these uniqueness, that we begin to celebrate. But we've always known that there was something unique about Malanti. We always knew, without getting and connecting the dots, we always knew that there was something, there was a special vibe when you go to Malanti and you get around and understand what that history was, the limited history that you knew that this was something very special. But now that the UNESCO people have acknowledged that we've put up to say, well, look, this is something unique, likewise, this is something that needs to be recognized. Now we've gotten that recognition, and I believe it was Tuesday in New Delhi, in India, that recognition was bestowed upon us. And the unique connection between both the Garifuna and the Creole is the drum. The drums. The drums was a very important part of our unique culture. It was our first telephone, our first internet, our first way of communicating in long distances. So the drum can speak, and as it spoke, it would get an answer from another drum. And people would know that. They would hear the drum and they would understand that particular beat means, or that particular rhythm means. And so that had to be recognized, because that came long before Alexander Graham Bell, who they said is the person who came up with the telephone. That came long before we were dealing with these interconnected processes of staying connected with each other from long distances. The drums was one of those. And there were others. For example, we don't know that they used to have birds, pigeons, doves that were trained to go for very long distances, and they would attach messages onto the leg of the bird, let the bird go, and the bird would know exactly where to go to let go that message, or to pitch, and the message would be taken off, answered, put back on the bird, and the bird would go back to where it originally came from. So these matters here we need to revive, because we're being drawn so much into an artificial sort of way of living that we're getting further and further away from organic, further and further away from rootsy, further and further away from inexpensive ways of getting the same thing done. Now we're being told in order to get these things done, we've got to spend big money to do it. Yeah, welcome, caller. Welcome.
Morning.
Morning, my brother.
I like what you guys are saying, even if it's I said yesterday with the people I'm on the but to me, correct me if I'm wrong, if these people never come and recognize these people and give these people a flowers for what they do, and build a history, everything to the when you mention it, you have to people who come from power to recognize these people. Right around, correct me.
Well, you picked me up. You picked me up. That was my point.
My auntie has been in the background for years. My auntie has never get the credit where it's due. Now because these people come and recognize the history come out.
Yeah, I don't know why you sung a little. You listen.
I got him in his club.
Alright, yeah, you sung a little crusty.
Yeah, but you hear me now.
Yeah, I hear you a little better now. Yeah, but I think your point is that we seem to be waiting until somebody else come and recognize something that we personally should have been recognized long ago. Yeah. You're still listen, Brick, you might have to call back, brother, because you're making some good points, but you're coming across a little scratchy. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we got just a few minutes before we go to 2 cents scam, but it's important to recognize, and it is a point that we should not lose, that many times, and it happened in the case of Andy Palacio, we can have gold in our hands. It reminds me of the biblical story of those who passed the field and discarded the field as if it was nothing. And then the wise man that passed the field and recognized that there was something in that field of great worth. And that is saying to us that many times we take things for granted, and it takes somebody coming behind us to say, man, how could you not see this? That's what happened with Andy Palacio. We loved Andy. I mean, we danced to Andy. But we never big up Andy the way the world big up Andy when the world found out about Andy. The world found out about Andy and said, what? And what, went wild around the world. It's still a top song when you go to those top 25, etc. world songs. What, our brother, Andy, we used to walk the village of Barranco, place in Belize City, and was a school teacher and was moving around the country. We took him for granted. We love Andy, but we only love Andy in a kind of a local way, probably the same way we treat Super G and the rest of these guys. But the reality is there was something unique, all right? And it was until our brother in Cayo, our brother who took it to another level along with Yasser. And when they introduced that to the Walmart, I believe was the name of the, excuse me if I'm making the wrong connection, but it's a world body that looks at world music. And when they heard Andy, immediately he was given this award, this international award, because of recognizing the uniqueness of what he brought. But he made there all along. So we have a tendency to not show, and I think this is what Brick was saying just now, that not till outside come and recognize that there's something unique about Gales Point, Manatee, that we come around now to celebrating Gales Point. We should have been doing that a long time ago. And believe me, there are other unique aspects of Belize that tends to not be celebrated by us. We have to wait until outside comes, acknowledges it, and says this is something, wow, this is world heritage, this is important. And then we sort of follow behind and say, oh, we're being recognized by outside. But we should first recognize inside. And that is a story that goes all around, even in our household. We don't recognize that our children, they're growing up, have great potential. And the more you bawl at on, the more you cuss them up and tell him that nothing, you're bringing him down into nothing. But you big him up, you tell him about his possibilities, you get behind him and her and support them, then you'll see they become jewels, because that's what they are. It's now 7:30, and we will stop for a 2 cents can with our brother Brick City. And our guest today is Dr. Jerry Enriquez. We'll come back with him after our first break.
WUB, and this is XTV. All right, big respect to our sponsors, 4 Point Security. It's that time of the year, get themselves prepare for the Christmas and what they're going to do different for the new year. So find out people in 2 cents. For the Christmas, because you busy.
Well, I don't prepare for last 2 weeks. No, 3 weeks. Right after Garifuna settlement day, I prepare and I do what I have to do home because I don't have time after.
That's your 2 cents.
Yeah.
Day. What are you doing different for the Christmas?
Well, we're just look out for the kids them, treat them right, give them what they need, respect.
That's your 2 cents.
Yes. Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Prepare for Christmas.
Yeah.
Buy right now with the pound 700 plate of food, 400 toys, the 28th of December to give away to the kids in 4 different neighborhoods, shopping malls and Jerusalem. And it's right behind Martin's, 3 house behind Toto. All the tickets them out, so the 400 tickets they done out, they give away. So that's how I do for Christmas.
Yeah, you're 2 cents.
And we have some great gifts for you, like our signature 15% off all Berger, Penta, and domestic paints, and 30 to 40% off selected and discontinued colors. 15% off all power tools, 20 to 30% off select tiles, 20 to 65% off light fixtures, and 40% off sunlight windows and mirrors. Also, GST free days on December 6th and 20th. Plus, for every $50 you spend, get a chance to win a $500 gift certificate in our 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from all of us at Brothers Habet and Habet and Habet.
The journey towards owning a home was a family decision as we needed stability and security. And it was a financial investment that we would have for our family's legacy. Getting a home loan from Atlantic Bank was very easy. The officers there were able to walk you through the process and you were able to ask questions. Moving into our home for the first time was a blessed and happy experience. I remember turning the key for the first time, and the family was so excited to see our new home where we'd be making new memories in.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Over the years, as residents, you have all witnessed firsthand the loss of beaches, the collapsing shoreline, saltwater intrusion, and the threats to homes, tourism facilities, and livelihoods. Despite the seriousness of this issue, there has never been a comprehensive scientific assessment to measure the exact extent of the erosion, understand its causes, or guide the development of a practical and effective solution. The results of this work will directly support better protection for homes and beachfront businesses, the restoration of lost beaches and natural buffers, safer and more climate-resilient development, and stronger defenses against hurricanes and extreme weather. It will also safeguard the tourism sector, which many families depend on. Most importantly, it will give us the scientific foundation we need to develop reliable, long-term solutions that serve both today's residents and future generations.
This is fantastic. The willingness to help is absolutely a step in the right direction. This is what we need. This is absolutely vital for the survival of Placencia.
I was born and raised in Placencia. So I have seen the erosion firsthand, and pretty much we've been battling it for mainly the last 10 years, major the last 5 years. With the new idea, of course, we welcome it. We need everybody on board. We need the ministers, we need the stakeholders, we need the entire country to come together because we want the best for the best beaches in Belize.
We want you to know you are not facing this challenge alone. Your government is standing with you. Your community leaders are standing with you. With the right science, planning, and your involvement, we can preserve the Placencia Peninsula for generations to come.
This a creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. From the border to the boulevard, physical fit. On to my agony, strength in it. Big up the farmer champions, them we do it. But who are take the crown in a 2026? This a creme New Year's Day cycling classic. Straight to Belize from the northern district. To win this race, every cyclist dream. They make them boast, them take the sugar and cream. This a creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream.
It's the Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. All top-class riders hit the pavement for the start of the cycling calendar. Thursday, January 1st, it's the Creme New Year's Day Cycling Classic.
This a Creme New Year's Day Cycling Classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream, 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 cream.
Belize, it's that time again. GST-free weekends are back on December 6th, 7th, 20th, and 21st. Just in time for big savings for Christmas. On these weekends, most local retail goods will be GST-free at checkout. That includes frequently bought standard rated goods such as furniture, appliances, electronics, clothing and footwear, Christmas decorations, curtains, rugs, Marley, toys, and grocery items like seasonings, mixed essences, mixed fruits, and soft drinks. Everything you need to make your December more affordable. And good news for the holiday cooks. Picnic shoulder ham, smoked ham leg, and imported turkey are 0 rated all December long. And before you leave the store, always take a quick look at your receipt. You should see the GST removed or discounted automatically. So that means more savings and more room in your Christmas budget. So Belize, let's shop smart this Christmas season. December 6th, 7th, 20th, and 21st, GST-free weekends brought to you by Belize Tax Services.
back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes, and our guest is our brother who has been with us, and you know that. He is Jerry Enriquez. I prefer to call him Dr. Enriquez because he's highly qualified in more areas than one. And so, welcome, Jerry. We appreciate your being with us like usual, my brother.
Thank you very much, Nuri. Always a pleasure to be on.
All right, great. You're looking great. You're looking great. Look like I kind of matched up with the African Prince today. Yes, you're looking well. I like that shirt. Jerry, we got a number of things to discuss, but I think it's important to bring our audience up to date on your legal case. Just as a reminder for those who don't remember, that you and your group actually sued the government, insisting that they cannot go ahead with the March 2025 election if we continue to be in this malapportioned position where some of our divisions are as much as 10,000 while some are less than 5,000. And it was not a case that only you brought, because we know that the Belize Peace Movement was also along that trajectory. But the government has repeatedly rejected these appeals, and I mean through the court has not accepted the argument. And then you went on to appeal, so we would like to start there and right on to the request that was made of the Attorney General. So I'll just put those out there and ask you if you could continue that line, please.
Well, this morning I was reflecting with a lot of gratitude. It's hard to imagine that the year is concluding, and this has been a whole year-long project that I've gotten engaged in unexpectedly since January, and now it's December, fighting for electoral justice in Belize. I thought it would have been just a short time, a slam-down case, but I recognize that I gave up other travel opportunities, I gave up other commitments as I focused. So lots of other things that I ought to have been doing for this year, all that is shelved for the time being as I focus very keenly on trying to achieve electoral justice in Belize. Just because, as you mentioned, and I have repeatedly mentioned, we have a terribly skewed system of electoral representation in our National Assembly. Very unfair, one of the worst in the region, if not the worst, or in this hemisphere, where we have a vast imbalance, which both political parties to date have resisted to correct just because of a narrow Belize city-centric view and over-representation in Belize City. But this struggle is about fairness for people throughout Belize. And unfortunately, both political parties over almost 2 decades, near 2 decades, have consistently, persistently resisted to have our democracy in line with international standards. And then I also thought about this morning, what if the Belize Peace Movement had not brought up this case? Or what if I had also not written about and brought up this case all the way back in the about 2010 or 2012? I was alerting people that something is desperately and deeply wrong and flawed with our democracy. What if we had kept quiet? Well, we would continue to see what is happening as normal, because the unions are quiet, the attorneys are quiet, the churches are quiet. All organizations who ought to have taken up this challenge to consistently call the government to task to bring our democracy back to standard, they would be quiet. So I'm grateful that the Belize Peace Movement, and then later myself, have brought this matter to the attention, even while people continue to sit on the fence. So the second thing I'm grateful for, before I give an update, is the tremendous support and appreciation, encouragement that is given to me and I guess the Belize Peace Movement. As we travel around the country, people are saying, "We're with you, fight on. We thank you for what you're doing." And there's also limited but very deeply appreciative of the financial support that we've been getting to cover at least basic cost of filing fees and all of those. So I have a list of all those people who have donated. I'm deeply grateful for that. Also, the media, Prim, um, in particular, Channel 7, I mean XTV Channel 7, Channel 5, have shown deep interest. The reporter Mandala and Obafo TV have shown deep interest to see that the public is informed. So I'm very grateful. So let me just provide an update. The case is all the way now at the Caribbean Court of Justice. Last Tuesday we had case management, and I'm grateful that we have advanced it beyond the court in Belize and that we had the stamina to keep pushing this until justice prevails. So the case will be heard on March 12th at the Caribbean Court of Justice. If there is additional
Can you tell us,
extension,
Jerry?
yes.
Sorry to block you there, but it came to mind since your case was to tell the government that they cannot, with the old or with the existing alignment of divisions, that it would be illegal or unconstitutional to go ahead with an election. Well, that election did proceed. And so now, what would you be asking the court, especially the CCJ, to do to call that election null and void, and therefore we have to go back to the polls?
I'm not sure that the CCJ could order the government to go back to the polls. I don't have any legal understanding about that, but the election was certainly unconstitutional. The Prime Minister himself, before election, even as they entered office, they promised to do the redistricting. He repeated that during his term of office.
Indeed.
And in fact, even in the Plan Belize 1.0, if I may use that term, it says, and I want to quote, as part of the headline in Plan Belize that says, nurturing the national conscience. It says, ensure fair election. In fact, this plan belief was before the 2020 or around the time of the 2020 election. And they pledged to ensure fair elections by guaranteeing the independence of the Elections and Boundaries Commission, setting fixed dates for elections, registering all political parties, allowing free airtime during campaigns, introduce campaign finance reform with legislation to ensure disclosure of campaign contributions. And they also said they pledge to educate citizens on good governance by promoting programs in our educational system, from primary to university, on civic education, Belizean history, civic responsibility, and the Constitution to strengthen participation of all stakeholders. That was what was pledged in the manifesto in 2020 to be accomplished by 2025. Also, to ensure that no one is above the law, we will equip the DPP and police to independently investigate corruption and prosecute wrongdoers, including former and current ministers. Bold, loud plan that meant nothing. In Garifuna, we will say Maraswalugut, that means bold-faced lie. So they made that pledge.
Isn't that the nature of manifestos, though? To make big promises that at the end of the term, only a small percentage of them are usually fulfilled, and the rest are passed on to the next manifesto. So should we be surprised that the big promises before the election are not really fulfilled after the election?
But the mere fact that they recognized that there was need for all of these things to happen and repeated during the term. But what was also more damning was before the election was called, recall that I instructed my attorney to send a pre-action letter to the Prime Minister, a copy to the Governor General, Attorney General, to say that if elections are called under the status quo, you're violating the Constitution, and the Prime Minister knows that.
Did
The
he
Attorney
acknowledge?
General
Did he
knows that.
acknowledge? He or the Governor General acknowledge that letter, the contents of that
The
letter?
Governor General acknowledged I don't recall that the Governor General acknowledged the content of the letter either. But strangely, the Governor General, the Prime Minister, the Attorney General all had the same attorney um, to defend the status quo. And
I see.
so we're seeing there again those kinds
So
of
that
conflict of
particular
interest.
attorney that they all three used answered your letter that was sent to them,
Yes, they answered that. Yes, definitely.
and they didn't agree that in fact if we go through with this, it's violating the Constitution.
Well, the first response that we saw, remember, there was supposed to been a announcement about the election at a House meeting. That's Friday. We sent the letter around, let's say, I think about Tuesday, and so the election was not called at the House of the National Assembly on Friday. Instead, it was called on Tuesday. Monday night, we were already sending in our documents for having an injunction. So there was all to say that the government knowingly involved Belizeans in an illegal, unconstitutional act, and they stand there in unconstitutional. So that began the struggle,
looking
and
at
right
it,
throughout.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're bringing up a lot of ideas here. Wouldn't that be similar to what the previous administration, that is the UDP, did in acknowledging as far back as 2008 that, look, we have to deal with this matter because we have we've recognized that this has to be done. But as they use the term, kicking the can down the road, all through their administration, 3 administrations, they never did it. And then the PUP, recognizing there's an unfulfilled agenda here, they attach that on to their manifesto. And then after their first term, likewise, they don't do the same thing. It gets kicked down the road. And then you're told that, listen, it's definitely going to be done in this particular term. Is that any different than what governments have repeatedly done on this matter?
As I pointed out, both political parties are strongly determined to maintain Belize City as a power base, even though it is overrepresented. So they're insistent, and I think they need that there's a subtext of old colonial kinds of thinking, also to dominate others. There's also a subtext of discrimination. There's a subtext of strongly trying to hold on to like sort of family to maintain dominance over the rest of the country.
What about this
Constitution tries to avoid those kinds of things, to have a leveling playing field. There is no political party that is above the Constitution. No individual. The Constitution protects.
I understand. Well, listen, putting aside the idealism of doing it right, which often politicians don't do. They take what is pragmatic and what is in their best interest. So the ideal is that we should follow the Constitution. That's the ideal.
That's the
but
supreme
the real
law, yes.
politique, and this is what I want you to respond to. There's a belief that the black population in the country only has Belize City for its political base, and that splitting that up would cause that black constituency in Belize District. Belize District is the main culprit, so to speak, in the need to balance off the numbers. how do you respond to that very strong feeling that is not many times made public? That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
That a lot of politicians, black politicians, and black social thinkers really secretly don't want that to change because they believe that to redistrict, in fact, will dwindle whatever power exists for the black population in Belize City. What do you respond to that?
There are three ways we could look at that. First, I could say that's a kind of aren't we seeing that same kind of thinking in the MAGA movement in the United States? It's a MAGA movement thinking. So I could elaborate on that, but it is this kind of us versus them when the reality of a nation is different, and when the Constitution protects any one group from asserting dominance over another. That's called human rights. So that's one. So we see that also in the MAGA. So we would not like to see a MAGA kind of thinking in Belize. Secondly, even though Belize City is overrepresented, one area representative representing, let's say, 2,500, and another representing near 11,000 electors. One would think that with the over-dominance of representation in Belize City, you would have a booming city, poverty reduced, but still the city with the highest level of crime and violence. While we have this over-representation, so you wonder to what purpose and why are representatives within these small, I would say, almost like communities that they could walk around and check. Why are we having the highest levels of social ills in these areas? So that's something to think about. So when they're saying, well, we want to maintain dominance, it has not transferred to the black population of Belize City. Thirdly, there are also black populations that are being marginalized historically from those same kinds of thinking in Belize City. There is Placencia, St. Bite, Hopkins, Georgetown. All of these communities are underrepresented. They do not have an effective voice, as an example. So that kind of argument, I would say, is nothing more than emotional MAGA type of attachment to an old kind of worn out colonial thinking. So it is adopting a colonial thinking to say it is us versus them, rather than broaden the spectrum of involvement of people in nation building.
It's interesting that you should bring up MAGA because, in fact, the redistricting argument in the United States, in Texas and in California particularly, is about the same thing. It's about extending your influence and detracting from your opponent their power base. And we won't go into those comparisons now, but I'm pointing out that, in fact, you're right. This effort to maintain your influence over a particular area is looked at as a loss in power, a loss in prestige. But in reality, if you ask the question, well, what have you done with that power? Right. Has George Street improved? Has your area in the Pickstock area improved? Have your area in Lake Independence, has it improved to the extent of the power that you have as that constituent? So it is an interesting point that you're bringing up. But let's take our second break, Jerry. We have a lot more to uncover when we come back.
Thanks very much, Nuri.
It's an massive season with massive deals and rewards at Benny's. From now through December 31st, earn double B-Bucks on store-wide purchasing every Saturday. That's right, 2 times the B-Bucks, which means 2 times the cash back when shopping at Benny's. Plus, get even more rewards with B-Bucks Builders on home goods, tiles, appliances, paints, and lights. And don't forget, there's also massive deals and discounts on tiles and the best brands in paints like Benjamin Moore and BH. Rewards, deals, B-Bucks. You can get it all this massive season only at Benny's. Quality and savings.
Need to submit your sickness benefit claim online and have a physical medical certificate? Here's how you can do it. First, go to ssbportal.org.bz and log into your My Social Security account. Next, on your dashboard, click Benefits and choose Forms. Review the requirements, then click Continue to proceed. Click Apply under Sickness Benefit to start your claim. Review and confirm your banking information. If it is not correct, select No and follow the steps to update your banking details. If your banking information is correct, select Yes. Next, if your illness is not related to an injury at work, select No and proceed to upload your medical certificate. Select your claim period and confirm your employer details. Read the declarations and click each to agree. Click Submit and you're done. A confirmation email will be sent to you. Your employer will also receive an email with your claim details and a request for your salary information. If needed, submit your sickness benefit claim online and receive real-time status updates.
Sea una persona ocupada o atrapada en el tráfico, o que tenga una circunstancia adversa o muy exigente, la tensión se acumula y lo estresa. El estrés ataca a todos en cualquier momento, a cualquier edad. El estrés es un asesino. Es mejor estar vivo que muerto, así que visite la farmacia de Freetown para obtener opciones.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué puedo hacer para usted hoy?
Estoy bien estresado.
Ok, tengo una pastilla que te va a ayudar, ¿ok? Que toma una de eso al día, para 10 días, y va a estar bien después, ¿eh?
Ok. Farmacia Freetown, carretera 28 Freetown, donde estás mejor vivo que muerto. Farmacia Freetown, teléfono 22 32 87 6.
Driving around, particularly during this holiday season, can be quite an experience. Families are out shopping and the streets are buzzing with excitement. It reminds me that this season is all about connections, and it starts with how we treat each other, even on the road. When I'm behind the wheel, I always remind myself that being on the road is more than just following the rules. It's about looking out for each other and making sure we all get home safely to our families. This season, let's continue to be alert and be kind on the road. Be courteous, give way, and stay safe. A message from BEL.
This a creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. From the border to the boulevard, physical fit. Under to my agony, strength in a it. Big up the farmer champions, them we do it. But who will take the crown in a 2026? This a creme New Year's Day cycling classic. Straight to Belize from the northern district. To win this race, the heavy cyclist dream. They make them boast, them take the sugar and cream. This a creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream.
It's the Creme New Year's Day Cycling Classic. All top-class riders hit the pavement for the start of the cycling calendar. Thursday, January 1st, it's the Creme New Year's Day Cycling Classic.
This a creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream, 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 cream.
'Tis the season to be merry and make it special. GSCOM will be open all day for both non-GST Saturdays on December 6th and 20th. We are slashing prices of many items for the month of December, and you pay even less when shopping on the non-GST Saturdays. Get deals on gaming, speakers, tablets, smart watches, smart home items, digi cameras, and many more. Take advantage and stop in at any of our 5 branches countrywide, or visit our website and place your orders at www.gscom.bz. Contact us at WhatsApp 621-3766 or visit the Facebook page for daily updates at facebook.com/gscom.bz.
right, welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize, Morning Vibes. It's a Thursday morning, the 11th day of December 2025. Our guest is Jerry Enriquez, and he's giving us a background on the case that was brought before the Supreme Court of Belize to question government's insistence on going ahead with the elections of 2025. That case was lost, you could say, but it's now taken as far upwards to the CCJ. And Jerry, you were going to give us that aspect. I know we have several other things we want to discuss this morning. So if you could close off that first part of the topic this morning with what happens now that you had the case management on Tuesday, and the next step is the CCJ.
Well, the date has been decided, as I mentioned. 12th of March will be the hearing at the CCJ of the hearing of our case, and we'll see what happens from there. I look forward to seeing that justice prevails. But the point that we want to make is that where do Belizeans, where do the people turn to when their constitutional rights are repeatedly violated by successive governments? How does the people protect? How does the people protect themselves from repeated constitutional violation, even lying and all of that? And we want to make very clear that this is not repeated by any political party into the future. So we want to make sure that we get that right. So we hope that the Caribbean Court of Justice will not just look at the case itself, but it will set a precedent for other countries in the region, because it is most unjust when you depend on the conscience of political parties to follow the law, and they keep breaking the law. So we wanted to make sure that that happened. Even when the Prime Minister, just after he swore in, he said, yes, we will try to get redistricting done in 2026, but we will even try by the end of 2025 for sure. And so far, we have not heard any public statements as to how this is being carried out. The people need to know. But basically, this must not happen again, and we have to hold our leaders accountable. And those organizations, institutions who keep sitting on the fence, I want to appeal to them to also be careful to ensure that our democracy is upheld, and it cannot work if people remain silent in the face of blatant violations.
Yeah, before you go on to the next area, and as I said, we have several other areas here, give us an update on the case that you brought for the Freedom of Information Act, which, as far as we understand, the Attorney General has rejected that and said that no, they will not give the names and the amount of the attorneys or what they were paid for the case against you. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, we're seeing the character of the government itself in hiding information in which people should know, hiding. So we asked for the government to reveal how much money is being paid to attorneys to fight against the people's constitutional right for redistricting. How much are you spending over this period of time? And I said, I would think already near the million, if not, well, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not near a million. But they're hiding that information. The ombudsman recommended that the Attorney General reveal the information, and I think, and the Attorney General is resisting and has appealed the decision of the ombudsman, and it is now delaying in the court process. And I think that was the deliberate strategy to drag this on for a period of time, because we haven't heard about when this is going to be resolved. There has not been a timeline set for the case. So we will further look at that to see how we could advance that process to make sure that the information is made public. But that's why, as I said, over the year that I've been going through this, there's all kinds of ways, strategies, tactics to delay, to hide, to try to frustrate the pursuit of justice. And I've been in this for a year now, and it will continue.
Yeah, you really stepped back from. We know you as a prolific writer. We know you as a person who is on the ground and helping us with our mental health and our wellness. And that has been how we know of you. I mean, many of us know you as a prolific writer, a great thinker, a great presenter. But we didn't know you as a warrior for constitutional rights. So that has sort of absorbed your 2025. You think you're going to return in 2026 to what you do best?
Well, if 2025 had worked out as I had planned, I would have had a book out already. I went to the to Oxford University to sharpen my own skills for mindfulness and mental health training for others. All of those would have been the direction that I would have taken.
Yes.
But this has really consumed a lot of my time, and my family knows that it has taken
Yeah.
lots of sleepless nights reviewing court documents,
Yeah.
preparing affidavits, all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah.
it has taken. But then again, we could imagine if not. Sometimes we need to ask the question: if not me, then who?
That is the
If
great
not
question.
now,
That
then
is the
when?
great question. Yeah.
And so that is why it is hard work to try to find to get people aware, to try to awaken people from their sleepwalking through the injustices. It takes hard work, and so, but it is still a mindfulness in practice because you see life in a deeper way. You see cause and effect relations in life, and the future generation will be in peril if this current generation does nothing to correct what we have now. I recall even growing up. Well, I'm still growing up in a sense, but as a young child, with my father reading the mandala, following the UBAD movement. One time they visited PG, and I was really uh, awakened in a sense by the kind of struggles that they're doing, and I follow them. In fact, one of the habits that I used to have with my father is every weekend we're sitting and reading the newspapers, and Sunday would be, it was kind of a bonding time, and he was also involved in social activism and all that. My grandparents were also involved. My grandmother, I always remember, she used to, when women were abused, she used to go to the homes and find the men and scold them. And really, so women would go and confide in my grandmother, and she would go find it. Sometimes the men were dodging her, trying to hide because they know when she gives them a piece of her mind,
Yeah.
they must straighten up. So I grew up in that kind of environment where we must care for the good of others. That's a social
Yeah.
conscience
Yeah.
we have to
I,
contribute to the
I, I
development. So I have
wanna.
not. This is not new for me. I
Yeah,
have
you've been in.
taken different
Yeah.
struggles in a long, yeah, through my
It's
life.
in your DNA, man. I mean, I can tell long before Constitution, just listening to you and reading your many articles, you've always been rooted in social justice, challenging the system. But I don't want to go there yet. I want to go back to an aspect, because I always looked at mindfulness and an effort to deal with you, which is ultimately the reason for religion and the reason for God in your life. It's not for these external postures as much as it is for your consciousness. And I always looked at your mindfulness and getting in contact with you as a spiritual exercise. And so I'd like to ask you about something that we were discussing last week with Dickie Bradley, and something that you wrote about way back in 2014 about what really happened to Christmas. What happened to Christ in Christmas? What happened to the sacredness that we used to honor during this period? Can you elaborate?
Very good question. But Christmas, as we are seeing, and has been in the past, but even in a worsening way, in the way I see it, and is focused on pursuit of material and sensual pleasures, partying and drinking and all of those things, and distancing itself from what it is meant to celebrate. Now, I do not consider myself as a religious person going to participate in repetitive rituals that have become, for me, in my view, meaningless. Just going to listen to one person in his sometimes theological theatrics and all of those things that has no meaning. It's like speaking down to people and not engaging them in an in-depth pursuit and understanding and awareness of who they are and how they connect. If you look at, so Christmas, as far as is taught by the religions, is a day to honor and celebrate the life of Jesus. And therefore, and if you look, so then what then is the life of Jesus? And does it connect with what people are doing right now? Or we could ask the question then, how has Santa Claus become the fixed image of the celebration of the life of Jesus? How has a snowman of all things in a tropical country become the fixation to honor the life of a deeply spiritual religion, a deeply spiritual and enlightened being who is also recognized as the Son of God? How has the snowman, Santa, replaced that as the as the key feature to honor and celebrate that being? And that is the question that people need to continue to ask. How has even a Christmas tree, whose origins and history is looking at bringing a live tree in a winter, in the ice cold winter. That's the only green tree in our ice cold winter time. I remember going to Minnesota, and the first time I landed from PG to Minnesota in January, all the trees dead except the pine tree with its greenness. And so people are bringing in that tree into their home as a sign of life, since they cannot go outside to enjoy life as they want. They bring it into their house. And since they can't go outside to watch the stars, they decorate the tree to mimic watching the stars and the life. Now we have stars outside, green trees outside, and the business community has found it in their interest for more profits to be able to continue the same kind of colonial culture that has been a part of us ever since for hundreds of years. We have not been able to mentally free ourselves to find what really is the deeper meaning that we must honor and to inculcate as part of our life. And it is because of that, when we miss out on grounding ourselves in these universal truths, as was shown in the life of Jesus and Buddha and other great enlightened beings, if we cannot find those common threads to ground our truths, then we're being led, kind of like sheep, to pursuing material, sensual pleasures, quite a mockery of what Christmas is supposed to be. So, in the life of Jesus, for example, he took time to go to the desert, 40 days in prayer and fasting before, and as a part of his preparation to be able to go out to teach about love, to teach about forgiveness, to teach about avoiding attachment to materialism, which can subdue us from realizing the deeper parts of ourselves. The most sacred connection with ourselves could be distorted by always greed for wanting more and more. In fact, one of the deep roots of suffering is the constant craving for material and sensual pleasure. Because
So,
when you
Jerry,
get something,
where do you
you
think
want it.
we can pretty much figure out that Absolutely what you're saying is true. That is our present state and condition. Without being too simplistic, where did that come from? Only over the last, say, 35, 40 years. Because I can think back that there was a time that we were into the Santa Claus, Rudolph, Red-Nosed Reindeer, and all that kind of thing. They're going way, way back. But our spirituality overcame that to a large extent. We still had that essence. Whereas today, we've almost removed that particular sensitivity from the celebration, so that it is totally a Santa Claus. It's totally, and I'm glad you made the joke just now about one man dressed in a winter clothes here in the Caribbean. He should have a hat, but we didn't even acknowledge that, you know, Santa could come in on a wire bearer or something like that. We always thought that the snowman, the point I'm making is that, to make it light and to make it a joke, in fact, that we have completely dropped the sacredness. I'm not saying totally, one or a few of us maybe in the village setting still have a kind of a sacredness about it. But here in these urban areas, it no got nothing to do with no sacredness of Christ. It is totally, as you're saying, a materialistic drive. People are going to credit union and borrowing money just so that they could have that one-day celebration. They are still thinking that the way to gain the love for our children is to spend big money, because if we give them small toys, they don't appreciate it as much as they know we spend $1,000 to buy that gift for them. So we're not motivated by anything that is spiritual. So what is the Christmas then?
Well, now that you talk about toys, sometimes I wonder why give toy guns for Christmas. How does that even relate to give a gun for Christmas? But anyway, this continues to evolve through the business. I would say the business community has built a dominance to be able to, and in some parts, the media, you're hearing Christmas songs from November. It's not for the love of Jesus. It is to prime people's minds to be able to go out in this kind of a consumerism frenzy. It is to prime them. You hear these jingles about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, about snow, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It is kind of an ignorance of the media and the business community, because they also are in pursuit of their own profits. And so there's has nothing, and so even all the songs that we inherited from colonialism, all of the imagery of Santa and the reindeer and the snow and all that, and all of those things are more deeply embedded, so that people can even think outside the box, and they say, well, this is what we used to do, this is how it always has been, and this is how it will always be, because there's this delusion. Because we inherited from our colonial oppressors, that it has to continue. The church also plays a role, because the churches have lost influence. And I believe they've lost influence because they have maintained meaningless, repetitive kinds of ritual that does not really connect people. In fact, people could go to church and you could see in their eyes, they're not there. They're just repeating words over and over that has no meaning. These words were sent from, let's say, the Vatican. It has to be this way, and you have to say the same thing over and over and over, and it has no meaning, no connection. There's no space for silence and for deepening awareness within a church setting. So it is usually one formula, going repetitive, rote words, singing, and there's no deep connection that builds community within the church.
Well, let me say this. We're going to take this next break, but when we come back, we're going to open the phone lines, and we'll go into looking at the 16 days of activism. Our guest, Brother Jerry Enriquez, this morning. Please stay tuned. When we come back, we'll open the phone lines.
privilege to join you in Dangriga today for the official handover of the new Dangriga Forensic Scenes of Crime Office. While this project carries a financial value of around 740,000 Belize dollars, its true worth lies in the lasting impact it will have on justice and public safety in Belize.
The equipment that the U.S. government donated as part of this project was for not only general office equipment, kitchenette type equipment, storage lockers, but also what we call an evidence drying chamber, evidence storage refrigerator, and a fuming chamber or a fuming hood. Fuming means where you use certain chemicals to fumigate items that you want to develop latent prints off of, such as guns or metal cartridge cases, etc. The second half of the building, aside from where we are, is for the evidence processing area and the evidence storage area. Forensic Lab is still in Leadville, but this is a field office for crime scene people that go to the scene, make the first contact with some of these physical evidence, collect, document, package, process, and send to the Forensic Lab. If you don't get proper and adequate and reliable evidence reaching the Forensic Lab from the crime scene through this intermediate step, then the quality of the forensic report will be affected negatively. A building like this and having our staff international certified sets the foundation for us to take to the next level.
This significant improvement will ensure that our forensic experts have the tools, the training, and the infrastructure to carry out their duties with efficiency, accuracy, and accountability. And these will directly strengthen convictions relying on forensic evidence, strengthen the process that can lead to exonerations of wrongfully accused persons, and strengthen interagency coordination on local as well as transnational criminal investigations.
The journey towards owning a home was a family decision, as we needed stability and security. And it was a financial investment that we would have for our family's legacy. Getting a home loan from Atlantic Bank was very easy. The officers there were able to walk you through the process, and you were able to ask questions. Moving into our home for the first time was a blessed and happy experience. I remember turning the key for the first time, and the family was so excited to see our new home where we'd be making new memories in.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
This a creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. From the border to the boulevard, physical fit. On to my agony, strength in it. Big up the farmer champions, them we do it. But who take the come in a 2026? This a creme New Year's Day cycling classic. Straight to Belize from the northern district. To win this race, every cyclist dream. We make them boast, them take the sugar and cream. This a creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream.
It's the Creme New Year's Day Cycling Classic. All top-class riders hit the pavement for the start of the cycling calendar. Thursday, January 1st, it's the Creme New Year's Day Cycling Classic.
This a Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream, 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 cream.
Nando's Wholesale is your market leader in Belize's wholesale industry when it comes to high-quality products at the most reasonable and competitive prices. With over 40 years in the wholesale business, Nando's Wholesale embraces the partnership of the hotel industry in Belize by providing world-renowned brands in wines, seasonings, condiments, and cleaners in industrial sizes, as well as small and large kitchen appliances and equipment. Nando's also takes pride in providing one of the quietest and most durable air conditioning systems in Belize with technical support and spare parts. Nando's Wholesale. Professional, reliable, effective, and prompt. Nando's Wholesale always delivers. Visit us at www.nandos.bz or send an email to nandos@nandos.bz. Or even better yet, give us a call today at 222-500 or 280-8080 to speak to one of our sales representatives today.
Oh, I wasn't having a bad day. I just needed...
It's here, the biggest sale of the year. Find your happy place at Builders Hardware with our happy sale from October 15th to December 31st. Whether you're a contractor or a DIY pro, we got unbeatable prices that will put a big smile on your face. Freshen up your walls with 20% off all paints and 25% off paint supplies. Upgrade your space with 25% off lights, fans, AC, and a wide selection of tiles to match your style. Plus, enjoy 30 to 50% off selective items. But that's not all. We also sell sand and gravel, blocks, roofing, and more. Find everything you need from construction start to finish. Don't miss out on our happy deals. Shop today or explore our online store at shopbuildersbz.com. Visit Builders Hardware in Belmopan. This is your happy place.
This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes, a very interesting conversation with our esteemed brother Jerry Enriquez. And we've touched a number of areas, but we want to go into another sensitive area, and that is almost like you don't dare talk about this subject without being very careful what you say, or else you will be fum. But we need to be able to have conversation on this matter, and Jerry is also very vocal. Jerry, we want to talk a little bit about the 16 days of activism and the fact that I don't know how many years this is now, but certainly I think I've been hearing it for over the last 30 years, maybe different names, but we're always looking at this issue of domestic violence. But we seem to, and I listened to a media outlet yesterday or the day before, and it doesn't appear to me as though the narrative has changed. It is the same people saying the same thing, and we're getting the same results. Domestic violence is not going down, it's not disappearing. It's not, when you compare it to 30 years ago, we are doing better. We seem to be getting worse. And so the question is there a different way that we can approach this subject? Because we all, if we are real men and or just human beings, we hate to know that men, young men and older men are still in this mode of abusing women. And we need to do something about it. Some of us would take more drastic measures that I don't want to discuss here on air. But it is the fact that we are spinning this wheel, and this wheel is in a mud that is not getting any traction to it. So I'd like you to weigh in on this matter. Are we doing the same thing over and over every year and expecting a different result?
That's a very good question, Nuri, and I take it that that question is being posed out of concern that we want to see our society better and that there are more effective steps and actions taken towards resolving this horrible issue that continues to plague our society, and that is domestic violence and also called gender-based violence. There has been attempts to address this even through Women's Month. You have the 10,000 strong marches, then you have the 16 days of activism. You have other organizations like WUB, Women Against Violence, and even the Ministry of and Department of Women's Affairs, or now Gender Affairs, seeking to address this issue. But here's my take on it, and I applaud and admire all of the efforts to try to resolve these issues. My thinking is that the root cause that produces the violence are not being addressed, and the targeted group who are the perpetrators need to be the ones to be healed. That there's the tendency to talk about this in a
No, I've lost her. I've lost the, hello? I've lost Jerry. I'm not hearing him. Hey, Cliff, I'm not hearing him. I'm not hearing Jerry. Can we take the break and try to fix that? Yeah.
The journey towards owning a home was a family decision, as we needed stability and security. And it was a financial investment that we would have for our family's legacy. Getting a home loan from Atlantic Bank was very easy. The officers there were able to walk you through the process, and you were able to ask questions. Moving into our home for the first time was a blessed and happy experience. I remember turning the key for the first time, and the family was so excited to see our new home where we'd be making new memories in.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
It's an massive season with massive deals and rewards at Penny's. From now through December 31st, earn double B-Bucks on store-wide purchasing every Saturday. That's right, 2 times the B-Bucks, which means 2 times the cash back when shopping at Penny's. Plus, get even more rewards with B-Bucks Builders on home goods, tiles, appliances, paints, and lights. And don't forget, there's also massive deals and discounts on tiles and the best brands in paints like Benjamin Moore and BH. Rewards, deals, B-Bucks. You can get it all this massive season only at Penny's. Quality and savings.
This a Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. From the border to the boulevard, physical fit. On to mahogany, strength in a it. Big up the farmer champions, them we do it. But who will take the crown in a 2026? This a Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. Straight to Belize from the northern district. To win this race, the heavy cyclist dream. They make them boast, them take the sugar and cream. This a Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream. Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream.
It's the Creme New Year's Day Cycling Classic. All top-class riders hit the pavement for the start of the cycling calendar. Thursday, January 1st, it's the Creme New Year's Day Cycling Classic.
This a Creme New Year's Day cycling classic. The sugar and the cream, the sugar and the cream, 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 cream.
Need to submit your sickness benefit claim online and have a physical medical certificate? Here's how you can do it. First, go to ssbportal.org.bz and log into your My Social Security account. Next, on your dashboard, click Benefits and choose Forms. Review the requirements, then click Continue to proceed. Click Apply under Sickness Benefit to start your claim. Review and confirm your banking information. If it is not correct, select No and follow the steps to update your banking details. If your banking information is correct, select Yes. Next, if your illness is not related to an injury at work, select No and proceed to upload your medical certificate. Select your claim period and confirm your employer details. Read the declarations and click each to agree. Click Submit and you're done. A confirmation email will be sent to you. Your employer will also receive an email with your claim details and a request for your salary information. If needed, submit your sickness benefit claim online and receive real-time status updates.
Belize, it's that time again. GST free weekends are back on December 6th, 7th, 20th, and 21st. Just in time for big savings for Christmas. On these weekends, most local retail goods will be GST free at checkout. That includes frequently bought standard rated goods such as furniture, appliances, electronics, clothing and footwear, Christmas decorations, curtains, rugs, Marley, toys, and grocery items like seasonings, mixed essences, mixed fruits, and soft drinks. Everything you need to make your December more affordable. And good news for the holiday cooks. Picnic shoulder ham, smoked ham leg, and imported turkey are 0 rated all December long. And before you leave the store, always take a quick look at your receipt. You should see the GST removed or discounted automatically. So that means more savings and more room in your Christmas budget. So Belize, let's shop smart this Christmas season. December 6th, 7th, 20th, and 21st, GST free weekends brought to you by Belize Tax Services.
As we break ground, we celebrate a milestone representing progress. We reaffirm that every child, regardless of ability, has the right to strive in spaces designed for their growth, comfort, and happiness.
Most of the renovations will happen at the front, the administrative and the life skills learning center. We have upgrades to the kitchen. We are upgrading the perimeter fence, allowing for the ramp that will become the focus of the facade, and that will be built to code to make it safer for our students to use. We have bathrooms that are ADA compliant, and also just enhancing the access to the overall campus.
We had to do a little bit of negotiation to get Stella Maris included in this project. It wasn't automatic and it wasn't easy, but we're really glad that we were able to do that, because this is an important place. This school matters. You matter.
This project is all about the Ministry of Education, the government of Belize, investing in the future of these young, differently abled people.
welcome back. A frozen computer stole a few minutes away from Mr. Enriquez's response, but if we can go back, Jerry, you were making reference to the need for us to try a different approach to lessening this tragedy, I call it, that we deal with every year when we look at how much our men continue, many of them in secret, to abuse women, and then some of it is made public, and then we are all upset when we hear how terrible men act, but really it's because we're seeing it in public. But the realization is that much of the abuse of women never makes it into the newspaper and into the headlines. So we are dealing with an epidemic more than we're dealing with a fresh coal, you know? So could you elaborate?
I know we're kind of running out of time, but let me quickly try to say that the violence that we're seeing is just a symptom of a deeper problem. And we cannot say end violence. To say end violence is just like saying end the dark. But the only way to end the dark is to shed light. It is the light that eliminates the dark. So the approach, as I mentioned, that I applaud all the efforts towards addressing those issues when they are affecting women, but we need to go deeper to look at the root cause. How do we deal with people who cannot find ways to positively express themselves? The society does not provide that opportunity. How do people deal with their anger, with stored up trauma from childhood, in fact, in many cases, feeling abused, feeling unworthy. We have so many young. So all I'm saying is that violence has to be addressed beyond just gender. It has to go to a root cause of, because gender-based violence is just an expression of a violent act that is already within the person, with years of anger and trauma. So we have to look broader as to how to create a non-violent society.
I'm trying to see if we have a call here for you, brother, but it looks as though our phone is still giving problems here. The number that we're using alternatively is 623-0077, 623-0077. Sorry to break in like that, Jerry.
Yeah, so how do we build non-violent actions through speech? How do we build non-violent actions in our behavior and all of that? And that has to permeate the school system for people to be able to deal with difficult situations in life without the need to really flip into the violent thoughts, words, and action. I recall two things that really impacted me. That I remember a woman was boarding a bus in Delhi City, and this boy child, hardly over 5 years old, and she's just hitting him on the head in her anger. And the more he cried, the more she's hitting him. And I had to turn around and tell the lady, you are producing, by your actions, you're planting seeds for that same guy to be violent against women. The lady was kind of stunned when I told her that. But and I saw that another time walking across the swing bridge, another woman hitting another boy child, and the more he cried, she's hitting him to stop. And I also had to repeat that those kinds of actions are planting seeds for further violence down the road. So we need parent training, for example. Parents are just thrown to become parents and there's no guidance, there's no support for families, no support for individuals. Parent training, individuals have to be more deeply aware of how to manage their fear, their anger, and all of those things. So we have to delve deep to the root. Violence is just an expression of deeply hurt people we have neglected over time, and it erupted, and so we have a lot of people walking with ready to erupt. They are walking like time bombs ticking with deep anger, and that will erupt in violence not only to women but to others because they have unresolved issues.
Well, we see the evidence of that in our prisons.
Yes.
where the majority of those who are in prison are males. And it doesn't mean that a woman don't have the propensity to be violent at times, but nothing close to the kind of violence that men have, not necessarily against women, but against each other. And so we're dealing with a very serious problem there that spills off and affects our women. But Jerry, I have to ask, when you look over the last, say, 35 or 40 years of us getting support from UNICEF particularly, because UNICEF has done tremendous work in Belize. It has worked in so many different areas, but it has a bias. And that bias is that it directs its resources towards correcting and dealing with the injustices, inherited injustices and present injustices against women and girls. So if you were to look at $1, it appears, and I might be wrong, that 70 cents or 75 cents of that dollar goes towards girls and women issues. Retraining, capacitating, entering areas for where, in their perception, women have been left out. And then only 25 cents towards a mixture of women and girls and men and boys get in there somewhere. The point I'm making, and a lot of your thinking is sociologically based. What do you think would be the result of an equal amount of resources being directed at these young boys and men to get their head straight and to make sure that they have in them the necessary skills to navigate some of the problems and the pressures that they have, rather than you and I being able to correct them when they're in prison? Because that's what our intervention is all about. We're trying to intervene when the cow done the out of the fence. We're not trying to corral and train and to give parenting classes equally to ensure that that UNICEF money is equally distributed among the issues of boys and the issues of girls. There's a disproportionate, and it's not just this year, it's not just this decade, it's several decades when you look at the money, and I have AI'd it, by the way, to see how much money has been invested in trying to correct the issues affecting women and girls, and not so much on boys. We don't even have a men's department. We don't even have a focus on boys. So I'd like to ask you in your closing comments, would that make a difference if we were to take the kind of resources that we're putting towards women and girls to share some of those resources towards correcting, for example, what you do in the prison, what you do in schools, what you do with the military and the police? If more resources was made available to people like you to ensure that we are bringing information, quality information, as we're bringing to girls, don't you think that we would have a different result than what we're dealing with now?
I think there's first there's a global context in which this operates, and a tremendous amount of resources going towards what they call empowering women, to the vast neglect of our men. And in fact, different countries have different experiences. So for in Belize, I call our young black males endangered species. In every economic activity, you will see the vast neglect, or our boys are traumatized, are hurt, and you have more, as you've stated in an article, more boys, young black men in prison than at universities or secondary school, tertiary level. And resources are made available through the police and through brutal treatments and in prison directed toward young black males rather than in a transformation. So there is a critical and I would even say urgent need to direct resources towards healing young black males. And I've stated over and over, violence is not the root cause. Violence is only a symptom of a much deeper problem at an individual level, at a community level, economic level, and those are not being addressed. The funds targeted to women is, I would say, highly discriminatory because you need both genders for a society to work. And to say that to exclude our males is having profound consequences. And so I appeal to all those to engage in deep level discussion to find ways to heal the anger, heal the neglect, the abuse that young men go through in their life cycle, and what they express it out only as a measure of years of frustration, trauma, disrespect, abuse, all of those things, and even fear, because there is a tremendous amount of expectation placed on young men to maintain families, to be the protector, to be the provider, and there's this sense of feeling alienated. And so we have to look at these as a mental health issue beyond so as to prevent new generations from getting into this. If, let's say, 30 years ago, some of these same young men who were not yet even born, these things were not being addressed. So these young men are born into situations and they grow up in situations that continues every year to produce more of the same. And I appeal to all authorities, those with resources, to find ways to look deeply into how can we heal the mind, the individual mind state, and the behavior and the values of our society for profound change that we need to see.
Yeah, but we can't go much beyond that. But I would close off this section by appealing to Minister Thea, who is a new minister in that area of human development and seems to have some new ideas, that we pay attention to this issue of neglect, and that under her portfolio, that they start paying more attention to this neglect of boys and men, and even to the point of maybe getting a men's department. Don't wait for the UN to come in and tell us to do it, as they had to do for the women's department. Let us make sure that we are innovative enough to say something wrong with our boys, and stop to say that only in a Belize City or Dangriga we got this problem with boys. No, 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 no. You got some serious men problems. You got some serious addiction and alcoholic problem with men.
Yes.
And we're not paying enough attention. So it is a call out to Thea that you are the new minister in that area. Please don't just do the same old way. You change the faces, but you keep the same people and the same game going on. Try to break out of that and bring new ideas.
I just want to say,
last word, brother.
Okay. I'm speaking of alcoholism.
Yeah.
That is a serious fuel for more violence. In fact, the contrast of celebrating with alcohol and seeing what happens in the home, even quietly. And I hope that in this Christmas season, people return to the deeper meaning of what Christmas is about, and all this drinking, but also the business people that are fueling the consumption of alcohol. I will say that they're doing more damage to our society just for more dollars for themselves. They have to be all these stores that are selling rum and strong liquor and all those, even to alcoholics, they are selling it. They are responsible for contributing to the damage in our society. And if you do not have a conscience to think about that, then all the money that you're earning will be contributing to your own deterioration spiritually. So I will leave with that, and I hope that everybody celebrates the true meaning of what it means. Forget Santa, snowman, dashing through the snow. Those are not our images. Find what is the deeper meaning and find the sacredness of yourself and work towards continuing to heal yourself for a better self. Our mission here is to transform ourselves to the best we can be in this short journey in life, and do not be distracted by alcoholism and all the sensual and material pleasures, and that could distort your whole mind. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, brother. Do you know what's interesting is that this new UNESCO recognition of the Creole Bram is interesting because in reality, that was a time when there was no Santa. That was a time when there was no snowman, there was no Santa Claus. That was over 200 years ago when we were still an enslaved people. But we had certain retrievals that we brought with us, similar to our Garifuna brothers and sisters. There was no Santa Claus. There was the traditional dance, what is referred to in the old days as the oh boy, the name of it slips me now. But, you know, we had that special, almost want to call it who say me said that on my mouth, but I'm talking about help me.
The Brum, the Christmas Brum.
Yes, we had the Brum, but we had a special dance that came from the Garifuna community during the Christmas time that was called...
the Wanaragua.
Wanaragua is the African name, the Garifuna name, but I'm thinking about the way, the local name that we had. It slips me right now. But
Jankuno.
Jankuno, you see? That was not Santa Claus. That was something closer to our tradition. But we literally have dropped those traditions and have taken up I am dreaming of a white Christmas kind of thing in our culture now. So it's provocative to discuss these things. You got a certain amount of people right now where they listen and they dismiss what we said because they don't want to enter that into the conversation. So we will come back next year looking at these terrible statistics of men beating up women and killing each other, and not changing it because we refuse to get into a different conversation which will produce a different result. So thank you for your bravery, brother. Not only your bravery in terms of the court cases that you've taken up, and believe me, I know the amount of money that you've lost this year, Jerry, because you could have been much further. You could have finished your book that you've been working on, but you and those who were with you sacrificed to ensure that you keep this thing on the front burner. And we give you respect as we do to our brothers at the Belize Peace Movement, because these kinds of sacrifices are necessary in order for, we can't continue to just do the same old, same old, same old. We've got to, got to crack this egg if we really want to make omelette. So thank you very much, Jerry, for being with us today. So let me thank you. Yeah. Let me thank everybody else. This communication through the years is not always the easiest thing, but we try to do the very best we can. We're a guerrilla station back here, so guerrillas know how to take what they need to take to form their weapons in order for them to fight. And so we are dealing with what we have to deal with here. Some of you who are regular know that sometimes we're being challenged because the technology that's necessary that some other stations might have that we don't have. But that's not going to stop us because we have a cause. We're not motivated by a pay. I'm not a salaried person here. I am doing what I'm doing because I believe in what I'm doing here. This is not pay. You need to understand that. This is a mission that we are trying to do, and we're running out of time because some of the statistics are telling us that this thing is slipping out of our hands very, very quickly. And so we thank you for being with us and having the patience that you have with us, recognizing the challenges that we have. You haven't given up CREM, you have not given up XTV, and we respect you for that. So Belizean, stand. Let me thank Larry Guerrero downstairs, Christy Flowers, and also Mr. Clifton Lewis. Belizean, stand strong and stand firm and do the right thing. For now, We gone!
Get up, make every day count up. Wasted people, do your part, play around, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's not so it no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. Double your bed. Wake up, Belize. Another day, another